Well, that's good.
Each person is different. Like I'll take priority and send a list of hotels of saying these work best for here, and I usually do that at night when I'm getting ready. I'm like, here, let's do, instead of doing it at work, just
right.
These work best for us.
Right. Well, that's great. I mean, that you have that available to you. And then are you kind of a one-man team, or do you deploy with other officers or other CDC staff?
It depends. I've gone on solo deployments. My second one to Kenya was by myself. Usually I'm with other CDC staff, and it depends. Some are officers, some are not.
Okay.
Domestic usually wear the uniform unless we're asked not to, which has happened before for very high-profile situations, just so it's kind of under the radar. And internationally, only once have I taken my uniform because but it was for a conference in the Polish government requested it, so I had to get special permission from the Surgeon General's office.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so international you have to be, unless it was like the MMU, which is an exception, but internationally you cannot wear a uniform unless it's you receive a request, and then you have to get special permission. I think vessel sanitation might be an exception, but I don't know for sure. But from my understanding, all international deployments, you need special permission.
Okay. Well, that's good information. I've been 14 years and wasn't aware of that. This is great. And then the next question, which doesn't really, I mean, again, as you said, a lot of these are set up for single deployments where you can really focus and dig in. But if you have to specify some of the environmental health officer skills that you use the most, what would they be?
I don't know, because I actually don't know what's truly considered a EHO skill and what's not. For me, I bring industrial hygiene and field epidemiology to pretty much every response that I do, and exposure assessment, and a lot of occupational and environmental health issues that do come up, especially with some of the healthcare related work that I do. So I have a broad background, but I'm also can be pretty focused as well.
Oh, that's great. That's an excellent quote.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, it's like one of those things. Like a lot of people are very generalist, and it's
exactly.
know a little bit about a lot of things, but
right.
Kind of put my career. I know a little bit about a lot of things, and know a lot about a few things. So it's like cool. Right.
Well, that just begs the question then: What do you feel that you're? And this, I won't use it. I need to reword this. But what do you think that you're the go-to guy for in your team, or what are you the expert in, or what do you feel that you really have a good handle on?
The two areas that within where my current job, my old job, they didn't really know how to use my skill set properly.
Right.
So they just didn't have the opportunities. Where I'm at now, I'm getting full opportunity to really kind of use what I know. And so
right.
The two main areas, and the one main area, especially response related, is personal protective equipment and healthcare worker safety. And those are the two. Those areas are for response related and non as well. That I'm the go-to person because I became one of the CDC SMEs for Ebola PPE. It's behind, one of the main people behind a lot of guidance that was written. I was the main person for all the training materials we developed. So
right.
That's the one area. The other thing is I'm the go-to for aerosols. So my PhD dissertation focused on bioaerosols. And so now I'm doing some work related to an outbreak for non-tuberculous mycobacterium. That's an aerosol is being created by a heater-cooler unit used in cardiothoracic surgery. So I'm the bioaerosol SME for our division. and I'm helping set up this multi-center study to do an assessment of these units within operating rooms.
That's awesome.
So those are the two kind of main areas, but I'm picking up learning more about water management systems within healthcare settings and waste management. We have an SME agency SME in our group that I've been kind of training under to kind of pick up his stuff, because whenever he retires, someone needs to needs to fill in.
Right. And you don't plan on transferring anytime soon?
I highly doubt I'd ever leave CDC.
Well, good. That sounds like I'm happy you're there. Keeping us safe. I worked for ATSDR for 2 years, my first 2 years, and that was at the regional office in New York City. But it was a great, CDC, I thought, being part of ATSDR, treated their officers very well, and it felt like a family. And having switched from CDC, ATSDR to EPA, to FDA, to National Park Service, I think the benefit of working for CDC were EPA and FDA, they're regulatory agencies. So, you've got people that think they're, the best at what they do, and you have people that think they're the worst at what they do. We have the best, EPA is the best environmental regulatory agency on the planet, but at the same time, they're in bed with all these chemical companies. Same thing with FDA, and they're not doing enough. So CDC, their sole mission is to do good, and the only thing they've ever screwed up is in 2004 when they didn't make enough flu vaccine. That's about the only thing screwed up. So
that's not CDC's fault either, because CDC
no. But that was, I agree with you, but the public perception, just working there every day, I felt like I was part of something that was doing great things.
Yeah, and it is, and there's always going to be Ebola.
Oh yeah.
There's always going to be things that CDC gets hit with that are out of our control.
Exactly.
Keep plugging on.
Yeah. But I thought it was a great agency. I would work there again in a heartbeat. FDA, not so much. National Park Service is a great agency that's poorly funded. That's really my biggest complaint about it. So no, I'm happy you're happy where you're at, doing what you're doing. So, all right, page 2. What unexpected situations, problems, or surprises have occurred on your deployments? Or I guess you could pick the biggest surprise or the biggest unanticipated problem or a humorous story.
The biggest problem was my second deployment to Kenya. I got typhoid fever, but
oh wow!
Even with a vaccine, so I think that was probably the only time I was in the field that I had something where I was really. And my previous trip to Kenya, I had other GI illness, but not to the severity of, typhoid. It wasn't lab confirmed typhoid, but the symptoms and everything matched. And it turned out that I was in a village and that actually had a ongoing typhoid outbreak, and I didn't. The one day that I forgot hand sanitizer. Just happened to be in that village, and so it's highly likely that I had typhoid. And I think that's one of the main challenges of deployments in developing countries is just keeping yourself safe. Usually it's food and waterborne. Nigeria is different because it's also, high risk country, and so we had extra safety measures were employed there with armored vehicles, armed escort at night. So you're always traveling in an armed SUV, and then at night we had an armed escort with us. So State Department handled all of our transportation there. So it does that. I think those are Well, that ends up being one of the challenges is just keeping yourself healthy.
Right. Maybe we won't include that on there. We don't want to scare people away from doing deployments.
Yeah, you might just want to be careful how you word it.
Oh, you'll be reviewing it. So, and again, between these two, right now we've got more information than that would make up a complete interview. So, a complete article. So we'll be able to go through and just pick out the best of the best quotes and things like that. So, but I think the next one is a good question because this is, really one of the things that you have to offer with this to all the people is I've done 4 deployments and a couple hurricanes, couple of other things, nothing really, 3 weeks at the most. No, Hurricane Katrina was 1 whole month, but by the time I was done, you could pretty much buy everything you wanted at Walmart. So, but for you, what you obviously have a system in place for going on these trips, whether short, long, domestic, international. How do you prepare for deployments? Taking care of your family, your bills, just all the things that don't happen while you're away.
Well, my previous major deployments were pre-marriage, so it was a little different then. Now, and even
you can speak to both sides.
Yeah, so pre-marriage, I always use auto pay. Now my wife, is available to take care of the bills and that stuff. And, I would also put my mail on hold. Now it wouldn't matter. I always, when I do long deployments, being in Atlanta is nice, it's not that far from the airport, so I always take a cab, so I leave my car at home. And that's both pre and post-marriage. Or she'll take me or pick me up. And then, the big thing is, I'll talk to my parents before I go and my sister, and then, and it depends where you go, but in Africa, I'll tell them, I'm mostly going to communicate by email. If I get a chance, I'll try to call for a little bit. And, it's always tough to work around the major time changes. And then, I haven't had a major international deployment since I've been married, so I don't know how things would work, but I know my wife and I would be fine to work out whatever comes up because she knows the nature of my job.
Right. Okay. Well, those are great. Those are all great things. So you already mentioned the uniform nuances. For what you do what equipment do you take or supplies? Do you have since you do a lot of emergency responses, do you have a go bag packed, and what's kind of there's various packing lists out there and things like that, but what's your secret?
I actually do not have a go bag. I just keep a list in my head, and it usually works pretty well. So, the big thing for international deployments, having the right power converters, taking enough, for me, contact solution or contacts for, so many days, because I prefer to wear those over my glasses. Those kind of, the personal care items. In Kenya, I bought a lot because I was able to there, and so I didn't really take many with me. But I was going to be there 35 days, so I took some basics to get me started, and I knew I could buy like soap and shampoo at the store near us, so I didn't take a ton. The one thing I always do is I take enough Cliff Bars for one a day, because that ends up being your lunch when you're out in the field. You don't have time to eat anything, and you definitely don't want to eat the local street food because you'll put yourself at further risk. So that's another thing is, some people have theirs. That's my go-to. I know some people like jerky, but I need something a little more substantial. And clothing-wise, I always